Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Lights Out podcast. Glad to have you. We've got Zuffa Boxing 10 to get into, as well as some other interesting things. It's going to be a more or less bigger picture episode, if you will. But we do have to talk about Zuffa. That it from a show analysis perspective, from a performance analysis perspective, it'll be mainly Zuffa on this one. Zuffa Boxing 10 really impressed and showed that Dublin, Ireland is a hot spot for those guys. Yes, Zuffa's done a show in the UK and it was fine. It was actually really good. That was probably my favorite Zuffa fight so far was the Bournemouth main event with Ryan Rizicki and then of course CBS. That's kind of their first international main event. And then this one is their second. And it really does deliver. There was a bit of question into Callum Walsh's performance. A lot of people have been saying that it's time for him to take it to the next level. Right? Callum Walsh was the Zuffa Boxing 1 main event winner and he was 16 fights in. We saw a lot of young fighters on that initial card in January. This is his 17th fight. He faces Tyler Denny here, who's a very solid opponent for him, a very big milestone for Callum Walsh if he is to get the victory here. And of course he does, and that's the co-main event. Callum Walsh gets the decision victory against Tyler Denny. Doesn't look dominating by any means, but definitely does plenty in terms of the points each round to get himself the victory through decision there. But I think the bigger takeaway came with the main event. It was good to see Callum Walsh remain undefeated. Obviously, I think a lot of people are calling for him to take that next step and dominate in that ring. But, for a guy that's 17 fights in, I think you just have to remember if you're under 20 fights, you're still in there being smart, being a student of the game. And sometimes that means keeping yourself out of risk and mitigating risk in the way that we see Callum Walsh in his past two fights, his first two Zuffa fights. We're hoping that third one's going to be a bigger one. Um, and we have more than one opponent fighting on this card that could face Callum Walsh next. Let's start with this main event right here for Zuffa Boxing 10. We had Aaron McKenna take on Etinosa Aliha for the IBF middleweight title. Yes, you heard me correctly. The IBF middleweight title was on the line in the Zuffa Boxing 10 main event. And I do hope that that is something that sticks around because I think these fighters are better off fighting for some of the sanctioning body titles. And um yeah, obviously they want the Zuffa champion to be Jai Opataya, Shakur Stevenson, Ryan Garcia, whatever. But a lot of these guys that are on the Zuffa roster, the 90% of what Zuffa boxing is the opposite of that. It's guys trying to enter the top 10 of the Ring Magazine rankings for their division. And I think the IBF titles will be good for that, the WBO titles, whatever titles really. So yes, Aaron McKenna looked pretty dominant defeating Etinosa Aliha and becoming the new IBF middleweight champion. This was a top 6 middleweight matchup here in the main event. This is Zuffa's third big fight so far. And yeah, I really think Aaron McKenna and Callum Walsh are ultimately on a collision course. But I think we got to wait on this. I think we have enough to go back to Dublin early 2027 and put together a nice fight for Aaron McKenna, put together a nice fight for Callum Walsh, put together a nice fight for Joe Ward, who beat Artem Kasparian by decision. That was the third fight of the night. And then, of course, running down the card here, Sam Hickey defeated Brad Axe by knockout. This was an 8-round middleweight bout. Sam Hickey looking really good in the middleweight division. Very young fighter, but definitely looks to have a very bright future. And then Lewis Green defeated Daniel Bucic by decision, and that was a 6-round middleweight bout. Ultimately, A lot of middleweight bouts happening here. A lot of, like Callum Walsh versus Sam Hickey sounds good to me. I think it's going to take a lot of time for Callum Walsh to get ready for Aaron McKenna. Aaron McKenna's in a much different place career-wise. He's just won the IBF middleweight championship. He's a top 6 Ring Magazine fighter, probably going up to 5 at least after with this victory against Aliha. This was fun. I think for me personally, I don't know about you, Ant, but for me personally, I really wanted to see what Callum Walsh did in here. And it's very clear to me that we are still, he's still very young and he has a lot of fighting to do. He has a lot of growing to do. Yes, his undefeated record is perfectly intact, leaving Zuffa Boxing 10, but I think Sam Hickey could be, I don't know, because it might be too early for Sam Hickey as well to face Callum Walsh. And again, Aaron McKenna and Callum Walsh would be a good fight, but that's obviously they're just not on each other's level yet at all from a ranking standpoint or even like a technical standpoint. There's of course Stevie McKenna who fought on the prelims of Zuffa Boxing 10, and I think that would be too early for Stevie. So I really think we got to do some shopping for the next opponent of Callum Walsh. I think we got to go get someone. But nonetheless, Ant, what do you think? What do you think about Callum Walsh in the co-main? What do you think about the IBF middleweight title main event match? What are your
I
thoughts on Zuffa
I
Boxing 10?
mean, Callum Walsh continues to establish himself as one of the Zuffa's central fighters, right? I mean, we said it before, like he's kind of like the face of Zuffa besides Opataya. And I agree with your point, man. I think it was impressive. His performance was very impressive, but I feel like we didn't see much either. Like we didn't see the Callum Walsh we've seen in previous fights. He has a long way to go, and I think Walsh needs a big name fight or a big opponent. And like we said, he's real young, right? So I mean, why not do Hickey? I mean, that'd be a fun scrap. I think that fight makes sense in the long run, and I think it tests Callum Walsh and it also tests Hickey, man. I think that's what we need, and that's what these two need. They both need a challenge.
You don't think it's a big step up for Hickey here?
A little bit. I mean, here's what I'm planning, and I'll agree with you on that point. Where like they both need to fight somebody like in their on their level, and then they could probably face each other, or maybe do like one or two fights, like tune-up fights, and then they can maybe face each other down the line. I don't know. That's just me though.
Yeah, no, we can definitely. I think sitting here like in 12 calendar months, like a year later, I think Callum Walsh will be ready for anyone, and I think Sam Hickey will be ready for anyone. These guys are just so young, so it's like, do you throw them in there early? I mean, let's be real here. Sam Hickey is a person that has made his name mean something in Zuffa boxing this year, and the 2 times he's gone out there, he's looked very impressive. Callum Walsh is a guy that has been given 2 golden opportunities. Obviously, the big Dublin co-main was a huge opportunity for him, one that he well deserved. And then, of course, the spotlight in the first ever event against Carlos Ocampo was a huge honor for Walsh, I imagine. But it's a situation where it's like, here's a guy that made people know his name, and then here's a guy that we've been told has an important name and is the future. So yeah, man, I think if you can get Walsh versus Hickey going in Dublin,
Or
that
even
would be
like Shane
fantastic.
Mosley too. Like you can get Shane Mosley Jr. to fight Callum Walsh too. That'd be a fun scrap.
Yeah, we forget about Shane Mosley Jr. in main event of Zuffa 6. He got the TKO against Bohachuk, who is an impressive victory. I will say that was one of the more interesting and impressive fights in the early Zuffa boxing history. Was the Zuffa 6 main event? Shane Mosley Jr. saying, "Hey, I can be the middleweight guy that they want Callum Walsh to be." So this middleweight division, ironically, because middleweight division is very lacking in the world of boxing, but it's Zuffa. It's like we got a bunch of young middleweights that are ready, dude. That are ready. So it's very exciting here. What are your thoughts on the IBF middleweight title being a part of the Zuffa 10 main event? Do you think that this is going to be a thing from now on? Like, do you think the world of boxing is just gonna exist, and the Zuffa belt will exist, but the sanctioning bodies will do work on Zuffa events? Do you think that's where we're going?
I think so. I think I hope so because I mean, like we've said on the show, right? I mean, the sanctioning bodies refuse to play ball, right? So I mean, I'm hoping like at least like even if like it's like small step for the IBF to like work with Zuffa and so on. Like maybe the WBC and WBO will follow suit. I would like for that to happen. I hope it happens because that basically means that we get more of these fights on Zuffa cards, and I think that would make everybody happy. I think. I don't know. It's just that I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
no, I agree 100%, honestly. I think it's time to adapt if you're the world of boxing. It's time to work together. Of course, Turkey Al Sheikh has made it clear that he wants to get these guys working together. You
yeah
know, you can have different promotions, you can have different styles, approaches, and presentations to boxing, but ultimately, we should be able to have all of this coexist under one roof.
yeah, and then plus like we get the fights we actually want to see as well. Like that's the thing that we kind of leave out sometimes that if these sanctioning bodies actually work together with Zuffa, we could actually get some really good fights out of this. Like
Yeah, I
we
mean,
really we can
look
like
at
think of like
look.
the possibilities are endless, bro. Like I mean, we've called for Opataya and Benavides. We've now obviously we're getting Connor and Ryan Garcia. So I mean, dude, the possibilities are endless. Maybe Canelo can fight another once again on a Zuffa card. Maybe that we can get a crossover there. That'd be fun. I mean, the possibilities are literally endless, man. Like we could literally get McKenna versus literally like the top middleweight
I
in the.
want to see him face Carlos Adames,
I would
but
like
I
to.
think
Oh yeah, that'd
even
be awesome.
McKenna has one or two more fights before he's ready for Adames, and
Oh, I'd
he
love to see
probably
him fight
knows that.
Adonis. That'd
Yeah,
be awesome.
that'd be a huge fight at middleweight, and that's a division that they can really clean up now that boxing is very active. But yeah, man, like I think from what we see, the IBF middleweight title being crowned in the Zuffa 10 main event, it makes me think number one, I wouldn't be surprised to see Jail Pataya fighting for the IBF cruiserweight title in his one of his next two fights. Like they're probably at the very least, if they don't recrown him, they're gonna put the title on the line for him. Maybe not against Noel Mikhailian, which is a perfect segue right here because the co-main event for Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn next month in September is officially Jayo Pataya defending the Ring Magazine and Zuffa Cruiserweight Championship against the WBC Cruiserweight Champion Noel Mikhailian. No word on whether or not the WBC Cruiserweight title is on the line or not, but this is what I'm talking about right here in terms of the long-term future. If we see no issues with the Ring Magazine title, and now with Noel Mikhailian fighting Opataya, it's not confirmed that Mikhailian is signed with Zuffa. My initial thoughts in this early history of Zuffa is they'll probably want to sign a fighter if they want him to fight for the Zuffa belt. Like that only makes sense. But obviously Noel Mikhailian is not signed with Zuffa for all we know. So he will be able to fight for the Zuffa title at cruiserweight. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is there are two championships that are not affected by the tribalism and the newer era of boxing where these belts are getting stripped off of guys like Shakur and guys like Opataya. If we can confirm that that's not going to happen for obviously Ring Magazine, we know that they would never strip someone of the Ring Magazine title, right? Like if you are the best, you have that. And then the Zuffa belt. Like, even if you're not, like, if Mikhailian beats Opataya, he's the Zuffa Cruiserweight champion. And there's no politics in front of that that's going to do anything about it, from what we're seeing.
Yeah, and
If they can do that, that belt's going to mean more than the WBC belt does because the WBC belt is riddled in politics. Same
yeah,
with the other sanctioning bodies.
yeah, and I think this is the fight Jai needs, right? I mean, and I mean this seriously. Like after all the IBF drama and everything surrounding his relationship with the sanctioning bodies, I don't want to see Jai fighting another guy where everybody says, "Well, okay, he's good, but give him Michaelian, man. Like, give him a champion, give him a recognizable championship opponent." That's how you find out. That's how we find out, and the fans find out if Opataya is the dominant figure we believe he is. And there's also the important part. Michaelian's WBC situation has been real complicated. Obviously, they obviously wanted to. They're ordering for him to fight Benavidez. So the exact situation does need to be watched extremely closely. I know this wasn't um, part of your point, but I had to point that out because that's a huge situation with Michaelian and David Benavidez possibly fighting if the WBC demands it. I believe that's the rumor going around right now.
Yeah, but you got Opataya calling out Benavidez as well. Obviously, it would have been awesome to see Opataya versus Benavidez as the co-main here. I think because we're getting Garcia versus Ben, we're getting Zuffa and Golden Boy working together. We're definitely going to get Opataya versus Benavidez at some point. Um, it's just one of those things where what are they going to do? Like strip Michaelian of the WBC title for taking this fight? Like he took the fight. You know what I mean? And honestly, it wouldn't be good to strip him. Opataya wants undisputed. Okay. So he's facing the WBC Cruiserweight Champion. He used to be the IBF Cruiserweight Champion. And if he was to lock up with Benavidez, that would be for the undisputed Cruiserweight Championship. If they
Yeah,
just left it alone. But instead, we get this confusing nonsense where we really don't know what title's on the line until we get to the day of the fight. It's just
nope.
strange.
And what sucks is this fight isn't even is it even this year? It's not till May of next year. So that's what makes it even worse. Like we don't know what's gonna happen now. Like once Jai and Michaelian fight, okay, then what? Like
I,
where does
I
it go from
imagine
here?
we're building to Benavides. I imagine
Yes,
we're
I hope
building to
so.
Benavides.
I hope
But
so.
like for these sanctioning bodies, it's like, bro, you had one job. Have your belt be attached to the biggest. Now the IBF belt isn't attached to that. And potentially the WBC belt won't be attached to that. Like these guys want to be undisputed. You don't have to take away from the fighters. Like if it's gonna hurt them if they continue to do stuff like this in the long run. It really is the
Yes.
sanctioning bodies because nobody's gonna give a shit about them. Everybody's gonna care more about the Ring Magazine Championship and then the Zuffa Championship if they really like boxing.
Yeah.
Like
And they keep fucking up, dude. That's the problem. Like they can't get out like we say, they cannot get out of their own way, right? I mean, that's the thing. They like this whole situation is like it shows everything wrong with like the politics of boxing.
the WBC has a great opportunity here. It's the first ever Paramount Boxing, right? And it's Zuffa guys versus Golden Boy guys in the main and co-main. You can have the WBC titles attached to the main event as they are, or WBC welterweight titles for Garcia and Ben, and then you could have attached the WBC cruiserweight title to the main event, including the Ring Magazine and Zuffa Championship as well. You
Yes.
could have done that. It would have been good for the WBC. This is going to be a lot of people's first boxing match in years watching it on Paramount Boxing. Like these are the type of fights that are going to get the casuals to watch. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on this one. So why wouldn't you want the WBC to look important on it?
Yeah, I mean the
It's
problem,
silly.
like I mean, because obviously everybody's gonna tune in to watch Garcia and Ben, and for like we said, like a lot of these, like the casuals, this may be their first time of hearing about Jai Opataya, right? I mean, these guys, like the casuals, maybe have never heard of him, and like maybe they're not as diehard as we are. So I mean, that was the perfect time to do the fight for the WBC title, like or like for the ring, like for everything, man. Like, why are you getting in your own way? Like, ah,
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I really hope and I wouldn't be surprised if the IBF gives Opataya at the very least an opportunity to fight for the IBF belt at some point. just attach it to the vacant version. Just attach the vacant version to one of his next couple of fights. But
Please.
if they're gonna strip Mikhalian of the WBC cruiserweight title, it's like, bruh, like Opataya wants to be undisputed. Opataya can make any fight happen because he signed with Zuffa now. Like, why would you actively work against a guy that is 30-0, undefeated, one of the biggest cruiserweights in the world right now? It's really him and Benavidez up there. Everyone else is not really quite there yet. We got Chris Billum Smith. He'll probably face Opataya at some point. I think my point is, why would you get in the sport's way like this? Like,
Yes.
if we're gonna do a disservice to the WBC cruiserweight title the way we did it to the lightweight title, how the hell are we gonna turn around and have Pitbull's next fight, the next PBC card, be for the interim WBC super lightweight title against Nestor Bravo, and then the co-main Jesus Ramos also have the interim WBC middleweight title against Nursultanov? Like, that is the next PBC show after Rolly and Tefimo next month. It's kind of cool because it's like a smaller card. The PBC never really did smaller cards. They always did big pay-per-views. But now that they're with the Zone, they're feeling like they can start putting out smaller scale boxing events with this right here, where your main and co-main are both for interim WBC titles. It's like, dude, get with the times. You have a Zuffa belt out there that is gunning for your position in the world of boxing, and you have opportunities to have your belts attached to some of the biggest fighters in boxing right now, and it's just a bunch of whack crap, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, th- Pitbull and versus Bravo. I mean, it's not good fight, but it's not like the holy shit they make that. That's the fight we're gonna do. I mean, it's still gonna be a worthwhile fight. I mean, it'll be a fun fight. Obviously, I this is
I think it's healthy for the PBC to be able to do this scale of show, because the
yeah,
PBC has this old school model of like pay-per-view, 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 right? They got away from pay-per-view recently, but I feel like they exhausted that avenue, and now they can operate with the rest of the current world of boxing over on the Zone, have
yeah.
smaller scale shows, collaborate often, and just feature the fighters they want to feature, which is good because it's a lot of Mexican fighters that you and I like to watch.
Of course, man. I mean, I think I think my real keys to victory for Pitbull is obviously you gotta pressure, man. You gotta pressure early. You gotta work the body. You gotta get inside. You gotta make Bravo extremely uncomfortable. You can't give him space to box, man. That's the thing. And he's got to do what he did to Omar Sasilo, man. That's exactly what you have to do. Do exactly what you did to Omar Sasilo, and you have to like when he fought Lamont Roach, there were some holes in his game plan for sure. So I think he needs to figure out where he went wrong in that fight, and he needs to do exactly what he did against Salcido.
Yep. Yeah, man. The thing is, these are excellent fights. Like, we should be very excited for Opataya versus Mikhalian, and then of course Pitbull's next fight that we just analyzed for a sec there. I'm just getting a little tired of wondering what belt is on the line. Like,
I
for me
know, me too.
personally, like, I wasn't gonna believe that the IBF middleweight title was gonna be on a Zuffa main event until I saw it with my own two eyes. Now we've seen it with our own two eyes, so let's just go. Any title that they have is on the line. I want to see the WBC title on the line against Opataya, in Mikhalian's next fight coming up next month.
Yeah,
I
and
want to
you
see
know what
the
sucks too.
IBF put their title back on Opataya. I want to see. I mean, this is probably a stretch, but even if Shakur was able to get his WBC title back, his lightweight title, I would like to see that too. Like, there's no need to do what we've been doing in boxing, where we just have a bunch of paper titles. We have some real championships and real opportunities to have some humongous fights here. For the sanctioning bodies, they should be honored to have their belts on Netflix and Paramount and Zuffa. Like, that's huge for them. And then that's also huge for Zuffa, of course. They can help each other. They can work together.
Yeah, and the thing that sucks, bro, like I can't even tell my friends like what belt they're fighting for anymore because of all this. Like it's like they always ask me, hey, like who's like the champion right now, and I can't even give them like I can give them a answer, but my answer always changes because of this, man. Like we can't. Who's the champ at this point?
Yeah, it really murkies the water. It really murks the water when you do shady things to guys like Shakur and guys like Opataya, guys that are top tier boxers that we want to see. We want to see them fight. We want to be excited for their fights. We don't want to be confused as to whether or not the WBC cruiserweight title is on the line or not. I'll tell you what, though, I can confirm later this month we did have this fight announced about a month ago. It was Moses Satama versus Philip Hergovich, top six heavyweight ranked fight. This will now officially be for the IBF heavyweight title. The IBF a couple weeks ago tried to order Itama versus I don't even remember for the IBF heavyweight title, but now they are just kind of attaching the IBF title to this fight that has already been announced, which gives me hope based on what we were just talking about.
Yeah, this is actually not that bad of a matchup either. I mean, this is obviously like we said, we can't sleep on Philip, man. Can't sleep on Ergovich at all. Like this dude's like, I mean, yeah, he's 34, but he still has 15 KOs on his resume, 20-1. Like his only loss came to Dubois, but that was in 2024, and he just most recently stopped Dave Allen in 3 rounds. So that's where it gets real interesting. And oh, obviously, Atama, 14 and under 14 and 0, 21 years old, 12 KOs, and obviously he's coming off the stoppage of Jermaine Franklin. So this is a really fun matchup, and I think we can't sleep on either of these guys.
Yeah, man, that's going to be a must watch fight. That's going to be on the 29th of this month, August. And then, of course, 7 days before that, we get Rolly Romero defending the WBA welterweight title against Teofimo Lopez. And then what we're about to get into before we sign off is UFC 330, which is next weekend. Before we get to UFC 330, I do want to give a shout out to Dina Thorsland, who became the new undisputed bantamweight champion. She defeated Ternessa Johnson in an MVP women's event. MVP is becoming the premier home for women's boxing. Women's boxing is quite easily unifying under MVP women's. Most valuable promotions. You can watch it on ESPN. So, shout out to Dina Thorsland getting the job done and becoming the new undisputed bantamweight champion. That was a huge fight this past Saturday. Very spoiled we are as fans of combat sports and boxing. We had a Zuffa card, we had MVP women's, and then next weekend we have UFC 330. Of course, the meat and potatoes of this card lies within the main event and co-main event. The undercard is two unranked fights: Edson Barbosa versus Esteban Ribovic, and that's a lightweight bout, and then a middleweight bout: Mansour Abdul Malik, who's a beast, versus Dustin Sulfus. So we'll see some interesting fights for sure. They'll be unranked, bit of a lower scale, bit of a disappointment in terms of UFC pay per view standards, but I'm sure they would give us bigger fights if they could. I think the model of UFC means sometimes just being excited for the co-main and main event, which is very exciting here for UFC 330, and I'm okay with that because they're not pay-per-views anymore. I'm honestly
Yeah,
completely okay with
and
that.
I say this, bro. Like even the most disappointing cards can sometimes be the most badass cards. Like we go in with our expectations really low, and then we end up getting blown away. Like I mean, the main event obviously is gonna be a huge one. Obviously, Makachev and Machado Gary is gonna be a really fun fight.
Yeah, man.
Obviously, we got
Whether you like it or
there's a
not.
bit of rivalry between the Irish and the Russians. Obviously, that stems from 229 when Conor fought Habib. So just a bit of bad blood there, man. And obviously, there's a little. I can even argue that the main event is the proteges going at it almost.
Yeah, definitely. This is definitely a very fun fight. Whether you like it or not, Islam Makhachev is the pound for pound king. I do every time Makachev gets in the octagon fear for a very boring 25 minutes of straight cuddling, right? This will be for the UFC welterweight championship. I think Ian Machado Gary is a guy that's going to lead UFC into the future equally as much as Islam Makhachev at this point in time. Ian Machado Gary signed with Eddie Hearn with Matchroom Talent Agency, and now we start to see a new league formed with most valuable promotions in the PFL. So we wonder, are guys signed with Matchroom jumping over or trying to jump over, trying to make some more money? Like Ian Machado Gary being one of them, and then of course heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall being another. So will Eddie Hearn get another UFC champion in his
Maybe.
agency? Will he be 2 for 2? We'll find out.
If Gary wins, bro, holy shit! Like,
I
that's a
don't see
career.
it happening. I'm sorry. I don't.
I mean, I'm just being optimistic here. You know me, bro. You know me. I'm a very optimistic person. But if he wins, bro, like that's a career defining moment. You didn't just beat a champion. You beat Makhachev. Not on a technicality, not because of an injury. You beat Islam Makhachev. So and Gary immediately becomes one of the biggest stars in MMA. I mean, there are obviously comparisons to Connor are there. So if he beats Islam, he's going to the moon, bro. That rocket's going to the fucking moon.
If he beats Islam, Dana White's going to have to cough up a lot of money. A
Oh
lot
yeah,
of money. He already has to cough up a bit of money for Tom Aspinall, of course, but man, if Ian Machado Gary kind of puts himself on that caliber this upcoming weekend, that will be huge.
yeah,
That'll be interesting to follow. So, of course, that makes this main event huge. Honestly, I think Makachev's got this one in the bag, but I do think Ian Machado Gary is going to be one of his more interesting fights for the foreseeable future. This might be one that we remember more than we remember others because Makachev is so dang dominant.
for sure. And I do want to shout out the Darren Elkins, man, for his amazing fight last night. That was a real fun fight. That was a fun fight, and he's obviously retiring. He retired at this past Saturday, so I want to give a shout out to him. We did not put this on the announcements, but I did want to get your opinion on this, my friend. Joshua Van will defend his title in a rematch against Alessandre Pantoja. I want your opinion. UFC 331.
Isn't this something that they've been saying was going to happen? I feel like my friends have been telling me, like, yeah, we should expect this fight soon.
Yes, we're getting it in September. We're getting it
Yeah.
in September. Obviously, we know what happened the first time they fought. So obviously,
I'm excited.
got
This is a
injured.
rematch that we have been waiting for. Pantoja did a great job with that belt when he had it. Obviously, he lost it. Van has been a very entertaining fighter for the UFC this past year, especially with his most recent defense against Tatsuro Taira. That was very impressive. That was very entertaining. That was very fun. So I'm very excited for UFC 331 in September. And I'm even more excited right now for UFC 330 because I want to see what Makachev versus Machado Gary looks like. This is definitely going to be one of Makachev's more interesting title defenses. If you're a
Yeah,
guy like me and you think he's boring to watch, you respect the craft, of course, but you think he's boring to watch, I think this is one that we can get a little more excited for than usual. What do you say?
yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm looking forward to obviously Edson Barboza fighting. Obviously, I've always been a fan of his. Co-main is probably going to be a shutout with Mackenzie Dern and what's her name?
Jillian Robertson?
Jillian Robertson. There you go. I think that's probably going to be another
Top
just day at
top
the
hey,
office for
it's
Mackenzie
a it's
Dern.
a top
But I
5
won't I
fight.
won't sleep on Gillian Robinson at all. Like I will not.
I understand the women in UFC aren't where they used to be, but at the end of the day, it's a top 5 women's strawweight title fight. I'm gonna be excited for it to some
Yeah, man.
capacity. Every co-main title fight for these women is an opportunity to make someone know your name, right? Because it really feels like there's not someone besides Kayla, right? Kayla Harrison. Besides her, I really feel like nobody else has really like put an exclamation point on it. We've had dominant champions. I mean, I'm a big fan of Zhang Wei Li. Um,
I'd
but
argue
I
the
feel
last
like
champion besides Wei Li would probably be Amanda Nunes. I apologize for cutting you off, but like it's I mean besides Zhang Wei Li, right? Who else has been on the tear besides Amanda Nunes? I mean, we haven't had that. And obviously, if she does come back to fight Kayla Harrison, that's obviously a big fight. But I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, like we said, women's MMA hasn't been the way it used to be, like 10 years ago.
This is an opportunity right here for Dern or Robertson. Like I've been very optimistic with the UFC because I've been enjoying the world of boxing a lot. Like I feel like when I wasn't watching boxing and I was only watching UFC, I was getting very bored of it. I was getting very tired of the boring main events and paying on a pay-per-view price for something that wasn't as deliverable as it once was. I feel like we were getting there for a couple years, 2024, 2025. I feel like 2026 has been humongous. I feel like 2026 has been humongous. I think the fact that they are streaming on Paramount now gives them a lot of leeway in terms of having a good system and just being on more often, being accessible more often, putting on more fights. There's like a fight every Saturday. And now, they have competition coming, and that's only going to make them better while also giving us new entertainment as well. So, I am very much able to look at a women's championship match in UFC and get a little more excited than I used to instead of being so pessimistic in the way that we were all getting for a couple years there.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think right now, I mean, I'm more interested in boxing. I'm actually the opposite now, because I mean, obviously, like boxing's politics aside, right? It's still boxing's still fun, and we're getting some good fights. But I think like the UFC, I mean, we're on a bit of a collision course here. I mean, we're doing. I think the UFC is doing pretty well for themselves. I think 330 will be a good event. I mean, 329 was tainted obviously because of the main event, but rest of the card was fun. Obviously, can't stop.
Here's the thing. Here's the
Guys.
thing. You bring that up, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I have a good point. 329's undercard was freaking incredible. Every fight was a banger. We had a lot of ranked fights. I believe we had 4 ranked fights on that main card. I believe we had 5 ranked fights on that main card. The only one that wasn't ranked was King Green getting the win there, which is it's King Green. I happen to be a fan of King Green.
Yeah,
I imagine many of you are right there with me. So here's the thing: is that's they had a fantastic undercard that was kind of reminding me why I like UFC, and then of course I get all the vibes when Conor McGregor and Max Holloway are ready to have their big main event, and then it goes to shit, and we remember the shit. We don't remember how freaking excited we were before Conor McGregor tore his ACL,
yeah,
right? We don't even remember how excited we were sitting there feeling like it was the old days again. We just remember the bullshit. Well, this card will be entertaining, right? 2 unranked fights, but 4 fun fighters nonetheless. But maybe we'll remember the big main event between Makachev and Machado Gary, and we'll kind of see this as what we were supposed to see UFC 329 as.
yeah. I mean, obviously
Because
the
we,
best
we
card
we
of
always
20.
remember
Oh god,
real quick, sorry. We
no,
always remember how the main event leaves us feeling. How the main event leaves us feeling determines how we feel about the rest of the show. You could have the coolest undercard ever, and if the main event is Usyk versus Rico in a questionable finish, then it's gonna be a blemish instead of a diamond. You feeling me?
yeah, I feel you. I mean, we haven't had a diamond card since the White House card. I mean, that's just me. I mean, that's just me though. I mean, we haven't had a diamond in 2026 since the White House card, maybe even like
To be fair,
before.
329 was the first show after the White House card, and this is the second. So we aren't that far out of the White House card, and that's what makes it a huge shame. Is we had all this momentum from the White House card. We had an interesting beginning to UFC this year. We had Patty versus Gaethje. We had Volk versus Lopez, if I'm not mistaken. Those were 2 fun shows. I believe they were back-to-back weekends. We built ourselves up to that White House card. We saw Sean Strickland regain the middleweight title in between the build to the White House card, and then the White House card plays out perfectly. It's literally just it's history. It's fantastic. It's amazing. It was awesome. and then we kind of shit ourselves with Conor McGregor's return fight,
Yeah. 327 was good too,
which was
though.
feast or famine to begin with.
Yeah, but 327 was good too. 326 was okay too. I mean, it's been a I don't know how to say it, like a I guess like a rocky road for the UFC. I don't know.
I think it's just different. I think a lot of people are feeling that way because it's very different now that it's streaming on Paramount. We're not in a pay-per-view model anymore. We're in a streaming model. So yes, sometimes that means there's a crap ton of filler. But when we're not on filler time, we're having good fights. Like the White House card was, in my opinion, every fight delivered really freaking well. It was really unique. It was really cool. I think McGregor versus Holloway was supposed to ride the wave of that, but instead it freaking put the wave to Flat Stanley. Um, yeah, we hope for the best with this main event, this humongous main event, the pound for pound king of UFC, Islam Makhachev defends the UFC welterweight championship against Ian Machado Gary. We'll see how it goes, man, but that's all we got for you. This has been the Lights Out podcast. Is there anything you want to hit them with before we sign out, Ant?
I mean, do you want me to sign out, brother? I mean, get the last one.
Go for it. Yeah, go
All
for it.
right, brother. All right. First of all, I want to give a huge shout out to my brother, my good friend, and the greatest host in the world, Mr. Wrestling's Bullshit. Matt, love you to death, brother. Want to give a shout out to, actually, hold on. I want to say rest in peace to the big dog, the OG big dog, Mr. Carlos Carrasco. I want to shout out those we've lost, my grandma included. I know you're watching me right now. I want to give a shout out to my family, obviously San Antonio. I want to give a shout out to Colorado. And yeah, man. Obviously, I want to give a shout out to the fans, of course, the viewers. You guys have been amazing. And yeah, man, my name is Anthony Moreno, aka Ant, aka Boxing is Bullshit, aka Heel Synergy, whatever you want to call me. But this has been the Lights Out podcast. We are officially out of here, guys. Boom! Woo! Let's go!
All right, we'll see you next weekend to
See ya.
analyze UFC 330. Don't forget, do something with your life, you little bitch.